Accommodations tax meeting. I'm going to call this to order. Couple of items to start off with tonight. Year over year, from 2022 to 2023, the county received 76,137 more tax dollars than the previous year. Our ability to distribute tonight is $159,214. Just so that we're transparent with everybody. The amount that was applied for was $182,307. So we're not obviously able to grant everything out there. There was some overflow from past years that's going towards this total. So we'll still go through the traditional evaluation process, ask the same types of questions. I'm going to start off first, though. Mr. Taylor, would you do us the honor of doing an invocation for us?
Sure. Stand, please. Our Father, we're thankful for this day and for the privilege we have to serve here with the Dorchester County Accommodation Tax Committee. Guide us as we try to be fair and impartial to all of the worthy organizations that's applied for money that we will make decisions on tonight. Let us be fair and impartial in the best interests of the organizations and the county. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to start off with a first motion, and that is to approve our 2023 meeting minutes. I know that all the board members had an opportunity to look at last year's minutes. Any discussion on that at all?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Right. So I will have everybody put that to a vote. Everyone in favor? Aye?
Aye. Aye.
All right, so we're going to move on to getting the presentations. I do ask that everyone keep it to a maximum of 5 minutes. We will have an opportunity for some questions and answers from the panels. We'll make some initial recommendations. Each board member will have the opportunity to express their opinions on dollar amounts or ask additional questions about where the funding's going towards. And we can also have the opportunity to ask some of our county representatives about historical information about what they were granted in the past. So you can use that as a reference too. Please feel free to ask as many questions so that you have a good grasp of what the participants are asking for and what you're comfortable with providing. I am going to call each person up individually, and then we'll start the presentations. Before we do that, though, there is one note. Traditionally, the Tri-County Regional Chamber of Commerce has applied for this particular dollar amount in the amount of $10,000. This year, we have decided to move that over to the county to decide that money, so it will not be towards this dollar amount that we're going there. So that will give us more opportunity to have less people bidding on the same thing. So that'll reduce the total number of people that'll be here participating. All right, so with that being said, we'll get everything started here. I would like to start off with the Somerville Family YMCA.
Hey, I'm Joe Debney, the CEO for the Somerville Family YMCA, and just appreciate all the work that you do on this committee. Just to give you a background on what we're requesting, it's for the Flower Town Festival, obviously down in Somerville, but big part of Dorchester County and what we're able to bring to the county. So just to give you a background on that, it brings in over 200,000 folks to the county for that 3-day event. And the economic impact that is seen there goes directly back into our county through programs and ATAX funding as we work with the hotels to make sure that we're filling those up as well. We're going out of market to do all of our marketing with those funds that you give us. Plus, it helps us fund our community health programs here in the Upper County, Lower County, and the programming that we do. We've started doing St. George sports over at the county park here, doing a Splash in the Safety program up here just recently, last month or so. So the funding that we do goes right back into this community. It does not leave our community. The second thing we do is scholarships for individuals who cannot afford a membership at the YMCA or access to programs. So all of those monies that are collected from the Flowertown Festival go right back into here. But the way that we do this is we go outside of our market, and the information that we submitted to you also shows you where we've gone outside of that market, outside of the Charleston area, to promote the festival and Dorchester County to bring folks in here. One of the big areas that we really focused on was Columbia, Charlotte. We went up in North Carolina a little bit as well, to really try to focus on those other areas and get people from outside of our area to come to our festival and be able to enjoy Dorchester County.
Do I have any questions from the committee at all?
I don't have any questions. I know the festival is wonderful and brings in a lot of people, so good job.
I would like to make a motion to grant their full amount, which is $20,963.38.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all so much.
All right, I would like to call up our representative for the Edisto Blackwater Boogie, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, I'm Dan Riley. I'm here representing a network of open instrument studios in our event, the Edisto Blackwater Boogie. The Edisto Blackwater Boogie is going to its 5th year this year. We've had it 4 times out here at Givans Ferry State Park. This weekend-long festival is a 3-day festival. It includes camping, performances by over 30 bands and performers. It has local vendors, food and artisan vendors, as well as local nonprofits that come out and set up and help with education about river conservation. We've had Clemson Extension come out and talk about some boring beetles that are issues, and so we have not free attendance for nonprofits that want to set up a booth. Over the last couple of years, we've had over 1,000 people in attendance. At the festival, we track zip codes at the gate. So everyone that comes through the gate, we track their zip codes. This last year, we had 64% of our attendees out of county. We had people from as far away as Colorado and Arizona, and this is largely, in fact, due to the fact that y'all have granted us money in the past in order for us to be able to advertise. And so we're advertising mainly through social media and online means. We target areas outside of South Carolina and outside of the Charleston area. So our target audiences that we're really trying to hit are North Carolina and Georgia, but we also hit the rest of the United States for people that are targeted through music festivals. You can advertise. It's amazing what they do now. You can advertise specifically exactly to the people who are looking to go to music festivals. And so we target those people throughout the country and make an effort to reach out to them. Over the last year, we've reached over 500,000 people through those advertising methods. That's all tracked through data, Meta, through Facebook and Instagram. And I provided the zip codes that we tracked from last year. We're asking for $12,000 this year. Last year, we got a little over $10,000 to put towards it. And our total spend was, I want to say it was in the range of $14,000, and what we spent last year in the advertising of the festival. And so we're just looking to try to keep getting the word out there, keep bringing people here to Dorchester County. A couple other things just that I think are of note with the festival. We partner with the Edisto Natchez Cuso tribe. They've come out the last 2 years. They put on a performance and about a half-an-hour educational piece to teach the attendees of the festival about the indigenous people here. Also, what was it? There's, we've got, as an organization, we've got a couple other smaller festivals that we're doing now as well. So we've got the Southern Songwriter Festival that's happening in September in downtown Somerville. And also because of the success of the Edisto Blackwater Boogie, another festival chose to have come out to Ridgeville this year as well. The Charleston Bluegrass Festival moved their festival to Givans Ferry State Park because they've seen what we've been able to do out there, and they really thought it was just a great venue to do that. So I think we're really making an impact on the community. We're bringing people here. I think it's just going to continue to grow over the years. So I thank you for your consideration and granting us this money.
Do you anticipate the ability to kind of exponentially grow, like from a, does the park allow for that?
We do, and I do think that one thing that's really interesting about the way the festival has worked so far is even with over 1,000 people there, it never really feels crowded. So I think that we could probably get up to like 3,000, maybe 3,500 people in and out for the weekend, and it would still be doable. My goal as an organizer is to never have a festival that people don't want to go to because it's hard to get in and out of it. It's annoying with so many people. And so I think we would cap it once we reach that 3,000, 3,500 attendees mark. But I do see that we can continue to grow it. And we're getting a lot of people from out of county and out of state. So
I'd like to say that this is one event that I try not to miss. It's highly successful every year. I'm always impressed. The flood we just had, is that going to impact you any with what you're planning to do?
So we're really lucky that the park sits up high enough to where it's
Right.
really, the park itself isn't impacted. They had some plumbing and some issues on the lower part down by the ramp that
Right.
they've had a few repairs to make. But other than that, they did have to shut the park down because it's just not safe to have river access at this point. The river's moving too fast and people can just get hurt. So they shut the park down, but they're actually reopened today. So they were closed, I think, for about a week. But it shouldn't impact us. Yeah.
And Dan, I think I understand that your organization also gives a payback to the maintenance of,
Thanks for reminding me of that as well. We do, that's one of the big reasons that we do this as well. I get nervous when I get up here, so sorry if I forget some important details. We donate back to the park as well. So we have an ADA accessible trail project that we're working on. We've donated $20,000 over the last 4 years to the park for a trail that will be handicap accessible. And so there's a lot of red tape with that. It's a federal easement, so they have a lot of things to go through, but that is in the process, and it's coming along a little bit at a time. So we're grateful to be able to help provide the money to go towards that accessibility project.
thank you.
Thanks,
I've got a
Nancy.
question if I could. Am I on?
Yeah.
I talk loud anyway. I probably So do you charge admission? Do sponsors pay for booths? Where does the money come from for the festival? I've
Right.
not been to the festival.
Yeah, so we charge admission. So essentially what we do is we rent the park out for the weekend. We rent all of the camping spaces. So we sell the camping, we sell tickets to the festival. The park also stays open while the festival happens. So we close the back part of the park, but the river access remains open to the public, and the front part of the park is open for people to still come in and have picnics. We even have a stage that's outside of the ticketed area in the front of the park that's singer-songwriters. It's more quieter, a little tamer than some of the bands and everything. But I grew up in a family that couldn't afford to do things most of the time, pretty humble beginnings, and I have that stage out there because I remember being in a family that couldn't afford to go to a festival, but I wanted to provide music for anyone who comes into the park. So while the park is open, we provide that stage as well for someone just to come in and have a picnic and enjoy music. So we sell tickets, camping, sponsorships, vendors pay a small vendor fee, $100 for the weekend, and we sell beer and wine and food at the festival as well, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend full funding.
I'll second that. I'll put it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Aye.
Seth.
We got an online person? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
All right. Okay. You're keeping my total back there?
I am.
Okay. All right. Do we have Do we have a representative for the ARC of South Carolina?
My name is Bambi Rushton, and I am the program coordinator for the ARC of Harleyville. We have a branch of our business that is in Harleyville, and we service the upper part of the Dorchester County. We are a respite service for Alzheimer's and dementia. We give caregivers a much greatly needed 4 hours of respite, 4 hours to go and shop or take a bath or take a walk while their loved one is with us. And the application that we are looking for is for some money for the 5K race that we have coming up this month on the 24th. The Alzheimer's and Dementia Association is, this, and I'm going to read this because I was tapped at the last minute to come do this, okay? So, it's the 25th Annual McElveen Race for the ARC. It's Saturday, the 24th of August. It's a 5K run. And if you're not familiar with the services that the ARC provides, we have, we work with supporting caregivers and their loved ones with Alzheimer's disease or related dementias. Every dollar helps us to develop resources such as our adult respite program, early memory loss programs, memory screenings, and our Powerful Tools for Caregivers training. We're asking, I believe, for $2,500. This goes towards the funding for the race and trophies and T-shirts and things like that.
How many people does the race bring in?
You're asking me questions I can't answer, and I feel very
It's right here.
inadequate.
Last year was 450.
But I believe you got your information, our information in front of you.
One of the qualifications for applying for some of the funding is where the funding is going to be allocated towards. I'm very familiar with the ARC. I love everything the ARC does, and we try to help out any way we can. We really can't fund towards the expenses of exec events. It's more towards the advertisements. It's towards bringing people from the outside into the county is the intent of the money allocation. Is there any type of money that you put towards print material, radio advertisements? Do you have any kind of an idea of a dollar amount on that?
I believe she submitted an expense account, the projected expenses and the actual expenses. There was, I believe, a form that had expenses from the race in 2023.
It's over here on the back, very back of your packet, the very last page. The expenses.
Got it, okay.
1,200 in marketing,
Okay,
and then it was shirts
Great.
and towels.
And I apologize again, like I said, I'm a last-minute person. They needed a warm body.
okay.
So the advertising and marketing was $1,200.
Is there any additional questions from the committee at all?
According to state statute, that $1,200 for advertising, that would be the only cost expense that would be eligible for ATAX funding. Just-
Do we have any motions from,
I move that we fund the ARC at $1,200 for marketing purposes.
I will-
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aye.
Do we have a representative for the Flower Town Players? right. Let's take a quick look at their application in their absence. I think they provided an invoice on there for what they spent on printed materials. Would you be able to take a look at what we funded them last year? 4,000, okay. On the last page of their application, they do have an invoice on there for the cost of print materials, which is right around that 4,000, and then there's additional costs for postage on there. So that's basically their full amount that they were asking for, was that $8,500.
Yeah. They spent 84.55 last year. Did they have a count on how many people they bring in?
I don't think we had a breakdown
It
on that.
says 10,300, but of that, only 339 are from outside the area.
Okay.
339.
I'm wondering, the projected seems like kind of a jump to me. It's 339 to 700.
Yeah.
I wonder if they
For,
justified that.
out of, yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough to, and we really don't know the focus of the printed materials, where it's being sent to also.
Right.
I think it said out of county somewhere, but didn't it? Mailings are out of county, it says. But
All of these are mailings
I
are out of
guess
county?
we don't know that, though. if it's all-
15,000 out-of-county mailings.
Oh, okay.
Is that, no, I'm asking, I
Oh.
didn't see that it was definitely,
Could I make a suggestion?
yeah.
Could we table theirs
Sure.
until the end?
Absolutely.
Since
Okay.
they're not here to kind of tell us, answer our questions?
Sounds great.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion to table that towards the end, and we can reevaluate where we're at with total funds at the end. All right. I have got, is a representative for the Dorchester County Historical Society.
Good afternoon, Bill Blakely. I'm with on the board for the Dorchester County Historic Society. What we put in for was funding $1,000 for advertising statewide. We having each year we have an annual Living History and Education Days out at the Koger House on Wire Road, and we are looking for funds to for advertising that event. We are also looking for funds to replace the historical marker that is at the Koger House. It was installed roughly 18 years ago by the Sons of Confederate Veterans, and the history on it is no longer current as far as what when the house was built, who built it. Since then, and just in this past 2 or 3 years, we've found out a lot of additional history. It was actually built by Mr. Ferguson, who had a Ferguson sawmill that was on the Edisto, and he built the house for his sawmill manager. And it was actually, instead of being built in the 1790s, it was actually built in the 1780s. So we would like to, the cost of replacing a historical marker or having a historical marker is $3,000 is what the state charges. And and we're asking for the funds to do that.
Similar to what I mentioned before, based upon the qualification for the funding, we're not able to fund any type of physical replacement of items, so we can only really, the only amount that we can consider is the $1,000 request.
Okay.
So we're not able to fund that 3,000.
Okay.
Could I add something,
Sure.
please? So I know that since you're a 501c3 organization, I can direct you, I can give you my card, and I do know that South Carolina will grant you funds to replace those historical markers.
Okay.
100% funding, there is no match. I do have experience with that, so I'll give you my card, and then you can apply for that funding for that historical marker and any others that you deem need to be uplifted
That'd be
or
greatly
whatever.
appreciated.
Okay, you're welcome. I'll grab
Thank
it
you.
for you, but like Mr. Russo said, $1,000 is all we can afford. Thank you.
Do I have any recommendations from the board?
I make a motion, we fund $1,000 for advertising.
You have a second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. I'd like to call up our representative of the Public Works Art Center, please.
Good evening, everybody. Great to see you guys again. My name is Jana Riley. I'm the Executive Director of Public Works Art Center. If you haven't been there before, I'm going to give you a quick little spiel because it's just my favorite thing to talk about, and I think it's important that you know. We were started in 2018 by 9 longtime Somerville residents. I was born and raised here, as was pretty much everybody else on the board. So there's a lot of love for Somerville and a lot of love for Dorchester County, and a lot of hope to not change Somerville, not take it in a direction that is not what Somerville is, but just amplify all the beautiful things that Somerville and the Low Country and Dorchester County have to offer. We're in the heart of downtown Somerville. We're, depending on your age, we're in the old CPW building or the old post office. I talked to somebody today who used to ride his horse to the old post office. So depending on your age, but we have a lot of history there. It's right near the YMCA across the street. They're great neighbors. And Montreux, the quilt shop, that sort of thing. Due to our location, we are just wonderfully placed to be a great tourist destination in downtown Somerville. We see about 35,000 visitors a year. We count those people on a little manual counter and ask them personally in person where they are from and mark that down. I am so excited. I sold, guys, this is a little, but I sold a shelf on Facebook Marketplace, and I Googled the guy because I thought I knew him. And when I saw what he could do, he was a programmer, he made apps. As soon as he walked in the door of Public Works Art Center, I said, hey, you know what I need? I need an app that tracks people when they walk in the door. And I think it could be cool. I think it could be like a number pad on a keyboard, and there could be a little screen, and there could be some little art that pops up every time somebody puts it in. So he's developing on that right now for free for Public Works Art Center. So next year, I'm really excited that we'll be able to bring to you those exact zip code data, and we don't have to mark tallies and that sort of thing so far. So that's happening because of the ATAX Accommodations Committee. Because of what you guys need and what you're looking for, we're doing that, and I'm really stoked about that. We're extremely family friendly. Everybody is free admission when they come in. We've got 3 to 4 galleries that change every 8 weeks. We're booking out into 2027. Our biggest issue right now is we have so many people interested to show work here and not enough space. And we've become really popular with artist clusters in Charlotte, Augusta, and Atlanta. And so every time we feature an artist from one of those spaces, which is quarterly at least, we have all of their, so many friends and family members of theirs come in as well. We've got 13 artist studios, summer camps, classes for all ages, scholarships to make everything free. Everything is about creating a sense of belonging, breaking down barriers to art, being kind of cool. Like we want a cool, fun space in downtown Somerville. And then when you do special events, like we did a Make a Friend-a-thon because we saw that our community was having trouble. There's a lot of people having trouble making friends for whatever reason. We do open mic poetry nights. We do free concerts with the Somerville Orchestra and the Southern Songwriter Festival, which my wonderful husband Dan also runs, and then exhibition openings and all kinds of things. Quickly, this year, our gala, which we have had 2 years running and has been successful, we switched it to a block party because our gala was fancy, and we're not fancy. I mean, look at me, I'm not fancy. We are doing a family-friendly event. This is September 7th, and this is more just to tell you like kind of our mission and what we're trying to do with the money that we're getting. The block party is outside of our ask, but it is along our mission that we're promoting to these tourists to Somerville, and that is family friendliness. That's a carnival in the streets out in front of Public Works Art Center. It's the exhibition opening for our Spark exhibition, which is, you know, I said we're booking out into 2027, but everything should be a yes at Public Works Art Center. Maybe it's, no, you can't have an exhibition of your own, but yes, you can have a piece in our Spark exhibition. So every single person, you'll have a napkin with a 3-year-old's drawing on it next to an oil painting by an 80-year-old. And so that's who we are at Public Works Art Center, and that's who Somerville is, I think, this love and this connection and this desire to bring people together and just celebrate one another. So as I said, tourists are the main visitors. It's actually harder to get longtime Somerville residents to come downtown Somerville and see all the cool changes that are happening. So we at $35,000 a year, if we just take out Middleton Plantation, I would say that we're likely the #1 tourist destination in Somerville. Nobody can beat Middleton. If we stay downtown Somerville, we're totally winning. But and that's brick and mortar, Joe. And we aim to just increase that. We get so many people who are coming downtown Somerville and seeing it as a tourist destination, or trying to figure out if they want to move here and that sort of thing, and we welcome them with open arms. Brian with South Porch Artist Residency, who you'll hear from in just a little bit, he and I are working on establishing Somerville as a cultural arts district with the South Carolina Arts Commission, and that will expand tourism. That's something we're working on, really dedicated. That was kind of pushed by Brian in the best way. We're working with Somerville Dream, the Parks and Rec Department, the Chamber of Commerce, tourism. It's a big lift, but it'll put murals in downtown Somerville, and it'll make us look even as wonderful as we are. So that's something we're working on, and anybody in this room who's interested in being a part of that conversation, please let me know.
I'm going to have to stop you
Yep.
because of the time limit.
Sorry, there's no timer. Okay, do you want me to tell you the number asked, or you got it?
So I can provide
Okay.
some of this in there.
Sorry,
So,
guys, sorry, I'm wordy.
Total number ask is $20,000, $7,500 towards event promotions. I'm sorry, $7,500 towards, advertising and event promotions, $2,500 for the website maintenance, and then $10,000 towards video production. Do you have the historical amount from last year?
It was
It was $10,000 last year, okay. I did have some questions. Obviously, the video production's a big, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so recently, last year, we acquired somebody on our staff, Jen Gilmore, who is a professional videographer. And she is able to, her husband is a professional videographer, she helps him out. So we are looking to film, we've been doing this, film our exhibiting artists and film the exhibitions and put them online and really promote them out into those markets outside of, into Columbia, into Atlanta, Savannah, Augusta, Charlotte, these places where we're seeing people come in already, and promote them with keywords, promote them with social media campaigns and boosting, and just show how impressive Somerville is. And these videos are high quality production values. We're also putting kiosks in the gallery, and those videos will be used there. So this helps support that, and then we'll, as we grow, we'll be able to allocate money in our budget toward those videos in the future.
Do we have an update of what our total is at right now?
Yes. Make sure I got the right sheet.
And then just real quick while she pulls that up, the other videos would be things like our block party that we're doing, and highlighting kind of those major events that we do and pushing those out into these areas as well, just to show, again, all the quality that exists in Somerville.
And next year, you're going to give us all the zip codes.
I'm so excited to do it, yeah. I can't wait.
Okay. We're at 35,163.38.
That's how much we've distributed.
Distributed so far.
Okay, so that gives us, okay. I don't know if we've got any initial recommendations from the board.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is your reach on here, your social media reach, and like your YouTube, like?
No, that's a great thing I could add. I filled out this application when I had COVID, and that would have been wonderful to include. I can get you those numbers as of, like, I could get them to you tonight if you needed,
So
but I
y'all are,
understand.
oh, I'm sorry, excuse me.
No, that's okay.
Y'all are bringing in 30,000 people?
We're currently bringing in, that was last year's numbers.
Yeah.
So this year, we're on track for
Yeah.
about 35.
And probably 17,000 from outside.
Yeah, it's about half.
That's a pretty impressive number.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, especially when you compare it to like 400 or something, so.
I think especially because you are tracking it with tallies and stuff.
Our volunteers are
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all
If we
volunteer.
have it, I recommend we give them as much as we can.
Okay.
I have a question about the website maintenance and hosting. Is that something that we're allowed to support?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I do want to say, you all funded our website transition last year. If you go to publicworksartcenter.org, it is beautiful, and thank you to the ATAX community. It's all because of you guys, and you're listed on there. It's grateful. So, thank you.
Do you want to put a
I
motion?
make a motion that we fund the full amount as requested.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all so much. Sorry I talked so much.
All right, our next presenter, I will need to step aside for because I do have some personal involvement with them. It's the Somerville Evening Rotary Club. So I'm going to leave the chamber while he presents, and then I will let the rest of the board make a determination on the recommendations, okay?
Mr. Russo, I understand you would not be voting, but you can correct me if I'm wrong on some of my facts and figures. You've got a little more experience.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much of an unfair
Organization.
advantage. I will leave then during the voting portion of it.
That's fine. And just
Okay.
to be clear, Jason did not help prepare the application. This, in fact, is Somerville Evening Rotary's first application to this board for our, this is our 10th annual Oktoberfest. And I'm going to make some of your numbers really easy. The cover page of our request says $5,000. Only $3,000 of that is for direct advertising. There are other expenses that we were trying to cover, but it's clear that we can already save you $2,000 off of your total. If you'll go to your budget page, that's where it's getting into a little more detail about the $3,000 on page 3. That's what we're asking for advertising. Back on our financials, we're an all-volunteer organization, so there is no payroll. There's no money coming from other Dorchester organizations. What I would like to do is direct you to the attendance part. We have used the very sophisticated collect data at the gate. We've had about 10,000 folks come the last several years, and it's free to the public. So what we're able to collect at the gate is name, rank, and serial number for people who are actually buying beer tickets and so on. So this is a data set out of the attendees, but last year we averaged 11.5% of people outside of the 294 blah, blah area code. I know you're only looking for Dorchester, but guess what? If they live in Monk's Corner, I'm pretty sure they're not using our accommodations. So we excluded any 294 blah, blah zip code in coming up with our numbers. And so that, against that 10,000 number, obviously, that's 1,155 last year. We're expecting about 12,000 people this year, which would jump that to over $13,000, or 1,300 people from outside of this general area. You also asked about what's some of the impact of where the money goes that we raise. Specifically, our club has a 501c3 foundation, so we're able to go and get other grants. We spent money last year on 2 grants. We partnered with the Somerville Parks and Rec folks to start putting in benches on the Sawmill Branch Trail. It's a 12-mile trail that's not all in Somerville, but the first 5 benches went there. We've already funded an additional 5 that'll be going in the fall, and we're looking to fund an additional 6. So we'll spend a total of $11,000 on benches next year. This past year, we spent $5,000. We also partnered with Leadership Dorchester as they were improving Hugie Park last year. And we assisted by putting in a rain garden, and we put in signs for nonverbal children. So we're putting that money back in. Like I said, this year, we're looking forward to $11,000 being spent to improve Dorchester County with projects. The park benches, we team up with not only Rotary, but also with the Nature Conservancy. They kick in a matching grant, so we're able to grow your dollars for the benefit of Dorchester County. Our advertising goes towards internet, print, and media. Our website gets over 110,000 hits, but I can't tell you where they're coming from, but it is accessed, and that's what we're looking for the $3,000 to do, is continue the advertising for that event.
So on the original ask was 5, what was the other 2 for?
Well, the other two was, you can't have an event without public safety, traffic,
Okay, and that
potties and
doesn't
all that kind of
qualify.
stuff, which that doesn't fit yours. And
Right.
like I said, this was our first pass at it. The person who prepared this was not Jason, so the rules and regs were not clear. The grant didn't even ask what the function was. The function is the Oktoberfest, held down on Hutchison Square, et cetera. And it's been a popular thing for the last
Okay.
10 years. But that's why the difference
And
in
you have
numbers.
about 10,000 people at that event?
That's what we had last year, and we're
Approximately, okay.
planning on 12,000. We've expanded, we've got more vendors, we've got more food trucks. We're planning on expansion for this year's.
You mentioned that you support the Nature Conservancy.
No, they do matching grants with us to buy the park benches, which are made out of
Okay.
sustainable materials, to do the Sawmill Branch Trail. If we're really successful, we'll do all 12 miles of it. So far, we've only funded 2 miles, but we're going to go for a 3rd mile later this year and see if we can get the other Rotary clubs in Somerville to join in and have some fun too.
It's impressive.
Thank you. Anything else I can answer for you all?
Any recommendations from the committee?
I move that we fund the Oktoberfest advertising at $3,000.
All right. Second?
And are the other 2,000 not into?
It's not advertising,
Okay,
so we'll
I
take that
understand.
off the table. Don't,
okay,
I mean, love to have the support, but that's not the way it works.
okay. I wish we could, but I second the 3.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Passes.
Aye.
Okay, I believe, over here he comes.
All right, is the representative of the Audubon of South Carolina available?
Good evening. How are you doing? I'm Matt Johnson. I'm the Center Director at the Bidler Forest Audubon Center, which is owned and managed by Audubon South Carolina. It's the state office of the National Audubon Society. We own 18,000 acres across 3 counties, the majority of which is in Dorchester County. And we are open to the public. We have a visitor center and a nearly 2-mile-long elevated boardwalk. I think it's the longest elevated boardwalk in South Carolina. That goes out into an old growth landscape, about 1,800 acres. It has never been logged, and we have it right here in Dorchester County. One of the things we have been working on over the last couple of years is we have realized that we have amazing displays of fireflies in the evening, and they seem to captivate people like almost nothing else does. Concurrently, the other place in South Carolina that is old growth that has a lot of fireflies is the Congaree National Park, and they have been so successful that they have put lotteries on they have put like a lottery on their programming because they were getting thousands and thousands of people come, and they didn't have the space for that. So people are craving this like nocturnal firefly experience, and there aren't a lot of places that you can go to see that because there's been a lot of habitat loss and a lot of other factors that we'll get into. Having said that, we have really been promoting firefly programs over the last 2 years. This year, we offered 9 programs at 50 people per program, and we sold out in like 48 hours. And it's truly an amazing experience. At the same time, we also are trying to promote Bidler more outside of the county, outside of the Charleston area. and we have been really focusing on Columbia, and it turns out that the Columbia minor league baseball team's mascot is the Fireflies. So this past spring, we did a Audubon night at the Columbia Fireflies opening game. We had a great crowd. We got a booth. We got to go down onto the field. We got to throw out the first pitch. And more importantly, we got to educate people about By the Forest, about Dorchester County at a time of the year that is our peak time of the year. We see 40% of our annual visitation, which is around 8,000 to 10,000 people from March through May, and that also overlaps with the time that the Fireflies are at their peak. So we thought this worked really well, and we want to do it again in 2025. And so the summary of our application is for this Audubon night in Columbia, which we hope will drive people to Bidler Forest at a time of year that is, again, our peak time of the year, and to Dorchester County in general. This past year, we did things like gave out specific passes that were just for the game that people could redeem at Bidler. We gathered email addresses. We put people on our email list. We did a video advertisement that was shown before, during, and after the game. And then we did a little bit of digital marketing. So this year, we'd really like to increase that. We may, we're sort of trying to decide, we may adjust the day of when we do it a little bit. We did it sort of anyway, it's going to be sometime March, April, or May. We're probably going to look at more of like into mid-April or early May. But the idea is basically to overlap with our busiest time of the year. And so we're requesting funding to help advertise for this, which includes the video. You can see a little bit I put into the budget here. The video that we would like to produce, again, some print advertisements, the digital advertising, and then some collateral, rack cards, things of that nature that we can use. And our hope is that we did a video. We'd like to do a better video in 2025, and also be something that we can show not just at the game, but we would have the rights to show sort of in the county, outside of the county. We can use in a variety of different ways, including on our website. That is a very brief summary that I hope I covered everything. I'm happy to answer questions. Our total ask is
I do have a question
Yeah.
about the event sponsorship. I'm just trying to understand, so you're not actually sponsoring the team, you're paying for the items you need to put on this event?
It's that, and it's also the Fireflies. It's like we pay for the sponsorship, so we get a certain number of tickets that we can give out. It's the things that we also get during the game. We get to have booth space. We get to have marketing that we offer during the game to people that are attending the game.
Okay.
I think this is a really innovative way to advertise what you guys are doing. I think it's cool. Are the printed materials, are all of those at the game, or are you using those elsewhere too?
Ideally, we would develop them we would develop them, but not make them so unique that they could only be used at the game. So we would develop them for the purposes of the game and for advertising sort of the Fireflies, but they would be used outside. I should also mention, I think I mentioned it in here, we also do a second Saturday programming. So we offer free admission on the second Saturday of every month. So it's also an opportunity for people to, if they can't come down to sign up for a Firefly program, which we are hoping to expand in 2025, but has a pretty narrow window. So I think we're going to offer some like very specific programs just to people who like attend the game and sign up at the game. But we also do free admission days, family days, and things like that to try to for people who want to just come down and are looking for an outdoor experience outside of Columbia.
And you said all of this mostly takes place between March and May, as far as
The game would be, I think we did it in early April last year. Our question was like, that's sort of like right at our busiest time.
Well, that's what I mean. Like that, you're advertising for the following year almost. Like this year was advertising for next year almost.
To some degree, yeah. And I mean, we could.
Your peak as far as the people coming to your area are between March and May, though. That's when
right.
you have all your events.
Right.
Do you do anything during the rest of the time of the year? Is there any
We try
opportunities?
to.
Okay.
I mean, like it gets a little hot and muggy in the summer. We do a lot of fall events. We just like the Fireflies are out in late April and early May, and they're not out the rest of the year. Okay. and it tends to be the nicest time in the swamp. We do try to promote things. It's a good idea too, especially in the fall when it's really nice there, but it kind of is hard to
Well, I'm
beat.
always a big fan of bioluminescent nature, so.
They're fascinating
Yes.
organisms and in decline. So part of what we do too is like the environmental education of why are they declining?
Yeah, I think you certainly have an opportunity to expand this because it's definitely a unique thing that people can get out and go and see stuff like this. I have participated in things. Puerto Rico has a big thing with their bio bay where they go kayaking and they've got bioluminescent algae that are in there, and it's the same type of experience. Like little kids, they think it's the coolest thing in the world.
Absolutely.
So I think it's cool to have something like this in our area. I'm open to any recommendations that the board has.
Well, I want to clarify one thing first. Bidla is known for the prothonotary warbler, right? Are you trying to elevate the fireflies over the warblers?
Well, it certainly seems that
Come
people
on, Matt.
enjoy them almost more. There's something about being out in the swamp at night. You're in this, prehistoric, almost feeling landscape, and we do get some of the synchronizing fireflies. So, there'll be times when everything's blinking all at once.
Wow.
And,
To music, yeah.
but they don't do it on cue. So it's a little bit of a guessing game on our part. We've got it down though to like a window, and we did 9 programs last year, and I think we're going to try to, there's like a 3-week window where they're at their peak, and just maybe try to do them every night if we can, just to continue to try to expand because people definitely love it.
I recommend full funding, no question.
Second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
Take care.
Yes.
May I ask how many we have left and where we're at?
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus 1 that we have not gone back to. All right, can you provide an update on our funding?
We are at 58,163.38.
That's what's remaining or that we've given out?
We've given out.
Okay.
We've got about 100 grand.
So we've only given out 58. Okay.
You're doing good.
Who do we have left? All right, well, let's
Well,
just go. It's all right.
all right, I'd like to have the representative of the Somerville Orchestra, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to give these to you guys. While y'all are passing out, I can talk a little bit about what we do. My name is Andrew Price. I'm the executive director of the Somerville Orchestra, but more importantly, the executive director for the #1 performing community orchestra in the nation. We were just awarded that award from the American Prize in 2023, and so I like to brag about it to as many people as I possibly can. The orchestra is a community orchestra, which means that we are made up of volunteers, as our musicians are volunteers, and we perform over 30 events each season, getting out to, this past year, 29,000 individuals who heard us. Those are not necessarily touch points or social media contacts. Those are literal listeners who are listening to some part of the program that we are providing. The orchestra strives really hard to get out of the 4 walls of what an orchestra typically is. Our conductor leaps out onto stage. We invite families and large groups to come and enjoy themselves. There's no specific attire to wear. Dress how you want to. If you want to do a date night, great. If you want to do a family night, even better. We provide programming that ranges from 17th century music all the way up to music that was commissioned for the orchestra this past year. So we've tried for the past year to really expand our outreach. This past season, we were actually able to get 92 different zip codes. If you look at the maps that I showed you guys, you will see that both in the tri-state area and if you turn on the backside is the national. Those are the literal locations of every individual who has come to listen to us, excluding those from Dorchester and Berkeley County. So we have an exact science into how we get these numbers. Every individual who signs up for a concert, they provide their information, which includes their address and their zip code. So we are able to truly get the numbers that as close as we possibly can. Last year, we were awarded $5,000, and because of that, we were able to get about 1,800 people from outside of the Tri-County area. So it's around 36 cents a person or whatever is what our brochures are that we send. We typically send those closest to the neighboring counties first, and then expand our outreach from there. We are sending mass mailer rat cards and brochures to those households to come into town to see our performances. And I do want to note that the total attendance of that 29,000, about 12 to 14 of it actually is going into Dorchester County and not the town of Somerville, because Summers Corner Performing Arts is not in the town of Somerville, it's in Dorchester County. So almost the majority of it is going to the Dorchester County itself. Last year, talk about economic impact and giving back to the communities. Last year, we were able to give $38,000 back to the local government in economic impact, and $49,000 to the state in economic impact. And we're projecting $44,000 for local government and $57,000 for state government. So essentially, our ask is turning around and giving it right back based off of our economic impact that the orchestra has in Dorchester County. Our ask for this year is to send out to 100,000 households that are in 27 different zip codes outside of Dorchester and Berkeley County. With that, we are going to draw as much attention as possible. Obviously, sending 100,000 brochures, we're going to not see everybody show up. It'd be lovely if they do. However, one of the things that I'm very proud to say is that pretty much I and the orchestra are in partnership with almost everybody that you've heard from so far and everybody that you will hear from for the remainder of the evening. We strive to create partnerships and to maintain partnerships with other local nonprofits. So while there might not necessarily be, an attraction for the orchestra from these brochures going out and these rat cards going out, there will at least be some interest in figuring out what other things are in the Somerville community. We're also looking to put rat cards in the visitor centers at all of the South Carolina border rest stop areas and visitor centers. There's the word. And we're looking to have 3 different billboards this year featuring our major events in Orangeburg, Beaufort County, and Georgetown County all season long as well.
All right, you just hit right at the 5-minute mark. Perfect timing.
Yes.
So if I'm looking at your senior numbers on here, is the total attendance for this projected upcoming, I guess your calendar year is kind of different though, the way that you kind of do the fall and the spring season, but you're looking at 32,000 attendees?
Yes, okay. That was assuming that we were going to get about what we got last year from the county though. Obviously, the more money that we get from the county, the more that we can put the marketing into people's faces and the higher projected attendance rates that we will see. This is also not counting a 5K that we did 2 seasons ago. We are planning on doing that 5K again in the fall and October, which brings a heavier traffic from tourism for that event because it is so unique in itself, which is essentially the orchestra performing Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and the runner's job is to outrun us playing the Beethoven Symphony. So it's a very unique event, and because of that, we gain traction from everywhere, Colorado, California, Maine, that are coming down for that event.
Boise. This is an example of the trifold that you'll be mailing out?
Correct, okay. Yes, that is the example of the trifold. That will be the one that we plan on using. The only difference for the ones that we do a mass mailer for will be the middle back flap will just have the person's name on it instead of the other electronic information on there. One thing that I do want to point out on that middle flap is that we have, unlike many other orchestras, we have continued to sustain our live streaming services for the orchestra. So even if we have somebody that we're sending this out to in, say, Hilton Head, they may not want to make that 2.5-hour drive, but they may want to listen to a concert for $20 on a live stream, and that's still revenue that's being generated into Dorchester County. We have kept those live streaming efforts going. They are very successful. We have about 400 to 500 people each year that get onto the live stream events, and have heard nothing but great things from those people.
I have two questions, if I may. So last year you received 5,000.
That is correct.
Is that correct?
That is
And
correct.
this year you're asking for 45,000.
That is correct. As Jason will tell you, last year I asked for 125,000, so I decided to go down a little bit this year. I learned my lesson. Last year was my first year presenting to the Dorchester County ATAX Committee. It was great because I learned a lot of information from last year's meeting. So this year I kept it very specific in what I'm asking for, which is direct mail and advertising that will affect areas outside of the Tri-County area.
And my other question was regarding any social media strategy that you might have. You may be doing it, but I don't really see it reflected here.
Sure. So obviously, we have a pretty large social media campaign that we do for every single concert. We typically use funds for social media to sponsor, to boost those events on social media. We recently just hired a new marketing director too, so she is starting to get into the weeds in that regard. But in regards to social media usage, we typically post onto our own social media pages. We follow several other community pages that are both, for instance, Welcome to Somerville, but also the HOAs that are in the neighboring towns. We'll send it out to those. So there are many avenues in which we can reach via social media. The good news is social media costs are relatively low in the grand scheme of things. Printed material has always cost more. So obviously that's where the money is going to need to be at for us.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board at all?
So I just wanted to ask, I have one question. So advertising, I was just looking at your statement of activity here, and you spent average 3,400 on advertising.
The advertising by itself, that line item, may
Yeah.
be 3,400. However, we also contributed through brochures we consider as advertising. They may not necessarily be underneath that advertising line item, though.
Okay.
So there is a $10,000 line item for brochures that was used last year. Part of that was from Dorchester County ATAX. A large portion of our accommodation taxes in general do come from the town of Somerville. But we do utilize that in a different way. So we're not putting town of Somerville ATAX funds in places that we could put Dorchester County ATAX funds.
Right.
Obviously, this is a smaller amount. We want to utilize this first.
So I don't know how it'll end up, but I just have a recommendation for the future when you're applying to be more specific on your expenses for the advertisement that you're doing that the ATAX money would apply for, to be clearer.
Sure. So the balance sheet that I gave you was for the three purposes that I explained, if I'm not mistaken, which was the brochures, the visitor guides, and the billboards. That is 100% what that money would be used for.
Okay.
You're just looking for a breakdown of what do the rack cards cost, what do the billboards cost, what do the visitor
What it-
guides cost, right?
So
That's-
this right here is just advertisement?
The
This is-
budget sheet that I sent, yes.
Yes.
The statement of activity obviously is the whole organization where we receive
Okay.
other
I guess
fundings.
I'm missing the
Sure.
budget sheet.
If you would look at what would be page 8.
This is, I think this might be,
It's a very small budget sheet.
It's right here. It's on.
okay, you
It
got
would
that
be
one.
page 8.
Okay. That's probably going to answer all my questions right there. Okay. Gotcha. Thank
Okay.
you.
And I'm happy to provide, I work with Ross Printing, so I'm happy to provide all of those quotes from them as well if needed in the future. Not a problem at all.
I don't know if we've got any recommendations. Based upon the allocated amount of money that we do have, we are in a position to be able to increase exponentially what we did offer last year. We were in a position that we had much more limitations on what we had available to give out. So there was definitely some recommendations on why they were given the amount that they were given based upon what we had from a total pool standpoint. They essentially received, I think, 8 or 9% of the total pool, which was the 5,000 last year. Like this year, to get the same amount, it would almost be, triple that to reflect what that in there. So we are in a position to be able to be to provide more funds than we did in the past. So if you did have any additional recommendations on.
I'd like to move that we table this. I'd like to see what other requests there are.
Okay.
Since this is such a large amount, I'd just like to make sure that we consider all asks.
Okay. That might give us an opportunity to,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I will say that obviously if the full amount is not received, we would start with the, outside of the Tri-County area first, the closer to it, and then work our way until we hit that number. So,
all right.
thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. All right, so we've got 2 tabled right now. I'm going to ask if we have a representative of the South Porch Artists.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Brad Erickson. I'm the Executive Director of South Porch. We are entering our 3rd season. My husband and I moved here from California specifically to open an artist residency. We looked all over North America, Central Mexico, California, the mountains, Arizona, South Florida, and chose Somerville in Dorchester County because of first of all, the charm and the feel of this area, and then this amazing home that was for sale, 1835, a 6-bedroom home, and then behind it was the structure that sort of sealed the deal, which was a 3,000 square foot additional dwelling unit. When you opened the door, there was nothing but concrete floors. And anybody else might have run from that thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with that? And I opened it and went studio space. So since over the last 2 years, we've been able to build out and provide accommodations for artists and scholars and clergy to come, and they specifically come to be with us anywhere from a week to 4 weeks working on their creative projects. We started slow in the fall of 2 years ago, and then this last spring, we were at 100% occupancy. We're looking at 100% occupancy going into the fall, and the spring is booking up well as well. One of the rooms we hold back for scholarships, so we rent out 5, and we give 1 away with scholarships. Our prices, people say, why are they so low? $295 a week, and that's if you stay a week. If you stay longer, it's less per week. The idea is that we want this to be affordable and accessible to all kinds of artists, to emerging artists, and we've had people fresh out of, they're fresh out of college, they're on their way to grad school. We've had people who have been doing their art for 40 years, and they're well-established artists. We want to be able to have that be open for everyone. And so we do look to contributed income, both from individuals. Our neighbors have been incredibly generous with supporting us, the town of Somerville, and now we are coming to you all to ask for support as well. So we're a first-time grantee here. It's the first time I've had a go at this application. In the last year, and what we saw was we had 101 residents come. 3 of those came from the Tri-County area. I don't think any of them came from Dorchester County. So everybody is a tourist. Everybody is a visitor. They're staying on average 2 weeks, no less than 1 week, up to 4 weeks. And then, of course, while they're here, they're going to our grocery stores, they're going to the restaurants, they're going to Public Works, they're going to the orchestra. We've been with them to the orchestra many times, and we do partner with those folks as well and help to put up their artists over time. So our folks, when they are here, are integrating into the economy Dorchester County. They're visiting Middleton Place and other attractions around the area. We also hold what we call salons about once every 6 weeks, where we open that up for free for people to come and meet the artists and see what they're up to. We held a big event this spring where the prices were $5 for a ticket or $40 for a ticket, and that we had about 100 people there for that event. So we're building out ways to bring the community into what we're doing. The ask is divided into two, and again, I'm hoping I'm understanding this correctly, but if I'm not, please forgive me, it's my first time out. So $3,500 we're looking for in terms of advertising and promotion. Almost all of that is digital advertising. As I said, we draw artists and scholars, clergy in from all over North America and even Europe. So we're doing that mainly through social media, through other online portals, some of which are memberships that we belong to, where artists will go and they'll look for these kinds of facilities. That costs some money. The other is to help us with the operational and maintenance expenses of this 200-year-old home on an acre of land, 6,600 square feet of space. So that takes some yard maintenance. It takes some utilities we weren't used to in California. It takes some janitorial and housekeeping. So those are the two buckets of money that we're looking for support from you all tonight.
Thank you very much. I did have a couple of comments and questions.
Sure.
So based upon the detailed request, we really could only consider the advertising portion of the request that you've got on here. We don't really do anything as far as like maintenance or improvements and things like that are concerned. It's more
Okay.
towards advertising and bringing people from the outside in.
So that's what so I have a question about what that, we're on page, what is this?
3?
I'm just for future. So it says
Okay.
A, B, C.
Okay.
A is for promotion and advertisement. B is for maintenance and operations. I called the office. I asked them about ground crew and
Okay. Is there
utilities, and the
clarification
answer was
that
that's,
we could
I mean, again, I'm just trying to understand
Sure.
for next year.
Okay, yes, sir. Okay. So if section B, the maintenance or operation of the tourist-related building or facility, if your facility is strictly used to attract tourists for events and you hold events 100% at that facility, if it is an event facility, then it is eligible. If it has other uses, multi-uses at the facility, it would be disqualified for the ATAX grant. But if you're if you have an event center, and you own an event center, and it's strictly used to bring tourists in to hold those events, it would qualify. But hearing what you're saying, your facility would not qualify. Your specific facility
I
would
see.
not qualify.
Okay, great. That-
Yeah, but that's a good question.
It's definitely presenting us with a kind of a unique item, what you're doing here, because you're essentially, you do have some sort of a residency that you're offering there.
That's right.
And I'm having a hard time differentiating. I obviously know that they're coming for a time frame to kind of be alone and kind of be able to have an experience where they can do different things, but it's tough to differentiate from possibly like a bed and breakfast that might be up the road from you that is doing the exact same thing, but they're not really eligible to ask for county funding. They're bringing people into the town to come to their location, but we can't give them money because that's not really the spirit of
And I would say that, understood, and what we do is we run the residency for 8 months out of the year, so the figures that were here look at the costs that are specific to that out of 8 months. So I'm just letting you know that that's what, but again, I can understand if it doesn't qualify, it doesn't qualify. So.
Right, yeah, the advertising part, of course. If he's advertising, bringing people in to stay, that's different, and that would qualify.
Well, I guess I'd have to ask then, could a hotel like Middleton apply for a grant that's, I know that there's qualifications for, they make so much money or things like that, but if I had a bed and breakfast in town, could I apply for
Or the
money?
Holiday Inn.
Yes,
I-
and they could
I
have qualified
have a bed and
for,
breakfast, and I'm sponsoring an art sponsorship for 2 weeks at the bed and breakfast.
So then those entities would be eligible to apply for these
Okay, so, and actually, there's H-tax, there's hospitality tax also.
Okay.
That would be more of the revenue, that they would be eligible to receive, but Dorchester County does not have, I don't believe, a separate H-tax committee. Do we, Laura? Have you ever heard of that? No, it's probably because we don't bring in enough H-tax revenue in this county, but like in Beaufort County, they have a separate pot of money for hospitality. H-tax, hospitality tax, that would go for those bed and breakfasts, is that a word? Bread and breakfasts, facilities. But, I don't know. It is a gray area, like you're saying. It's kind of a,
I know we have, you're a little bit more on the expertise there too, so.
I could definitely do some research. I have the
Do we have
state
any other,
statute pulled up right now. I could look
Do you
at
have
some
any
things
other
while y'all are
follow-up questions?
discussing.
I would think on that the only way it would qualify is if you had specific times and dates and people, the tourists, so that he could actually put an exact percentage of the
Well, I mean,
maintenance going
the
to.
records I have are every single one of them individually, when they were here, how long they stayed, where they're from. I mean, all of that's down to the individual
And I
person.
think-
And again, they're coming, this is the reason why they're coming, to be at this specific, I mean, again, I don't know if it qualifies, I'm just trying to like let you know what we do. And they're coming for this facility that we created in Dorchester County. That's why they're here. Most of them have, almost all of them have never been here before and then often plan to come back, but that they're coming for this. So in that case, in my mind, it is the tourist facility in and of itself. That's what draws them here.
Yes, so, yeah, the intention of this money is to have them come to the area and stay in our locations that are paying the tax. So essentially, that's what they're encouraging to do. Do we have any recommendations from the board?
I move that we fund the request at $3,500.
I second.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, could I invite the representative of the Dorchester County Heritage Center, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to excuse myself.
Good evening. It's not afternoon anymore. Bill Blakely, I'm on the board with the Heritage Center also. What we're requesting is funding for advertising. We have a series called Discovery Series that we run monthly at different venues around Dorchester County with different speakers and historians. We also have 81 acres right outside of Ridgeville that we used for different events that are held. This past year, or the first part of this year, we had hosted the Cuso Natchez powwow on the property, and then we also had a car show and hosted a taco festival on the property. What we're asking for is funds for advertising for 2 rounds of statewide circulation, and I believe that's with the South Carolina Living magazine. We do advertising statewide with them that they send out. And then it's a third one would be it's a multi-state newspaper, and I do not know the name of that. Actually, but it is published in I believe out of Tennessee, and it covers North Carolina, Georgia, and South Carolina. That was under A. B. We're also asking for $600 for rack cards. We put rack cards at all the welcome centers in the state. That $600 will purchase 500 or 5,000 rack cards. The last thing was $995 for advertising in the Greater Somerville, Dorchester County Chamber of Commerce annual magazine. They've just started that, and they send it out to prospective realtors, prospective people buying houses in the area from out of state.
I think they did a big article on you last year, right, with the new...
Say again?
They did a big article last year on the new event center,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yeah. And presently, we were housed in the Dorchester County, the old courthouse here in St. George, and we are very limited space. That's why we cannot really hold events in there. We don't have the adequate space to hold events there.
Do you have the number what we granted last year?
I can tell you it was 8874.
Okay.
And that's basically the exact same thing that we're asking now, plus the 995.
Okay. I did receive some information from the county as far as they're comfortable with the recommendation on the total amount. They did say that based upon the revenues and the budget of your location, that your funding would be subject to some auditing. Any entity that makes over $1 million a year has to
Okay.
have some type of
That-
internal audit on there, from what I was told.
Okay. What they've done previously, they've accepted our 990.
Okay.
The federal tax forms.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's changed now, that they're not going to accept that as far as where our funds come from and what we pay out. The biggest number now that we end up is we're in the process of building a new facility on that 81 acres. So we've had a lot of state money and construction funds that have been donated to us, but they go strictly for the donation, for the building. And there's no way of separating it out with, as far as our operating expenses and our capital funds.
Do you have any numbers of the number of people that come to the location?
At the events that we've had so far this year, there's been roughly 8,000. And a good many from the outside the area. The powwow that Cuso Natchez hold on our property, they draw people from Georgia and North Carolina. A good many for vendors and people from other tribes that come in.
For clarification then, I might not be understanding this. When I'm looking at the tourism impact analysis, total attendance last year was 605. It's projected this year at 2,000, but you said you brought in 8,000?
Well, yes, the numbers that we put down are what we are attracted to our event itself, to the museum archives and to the Discovery Series that we run. We did not include the numbers from the powwow, the car, well, it does include the numbers for the car show because we hold that, or the taco festival. And the powwow had over 3,000 people come, and I think the taco festival had almost 5,000.
And the funding that you're requesting, does it supports exclusive?
When we advertise statewide, we include those in those different events as part of our advertising so that we draw people in to our property so they recognize us.
Okay.
The ads that we run are for the Dorchester Heritage Center, and as part of it, we've got different things in the ad. The Discovery Series is in that. Any of the other events that we have, our car shows included in that, and we run those two statewide. And then the one that's multi-state.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
is this projected jump in attendance, is that because of the new facilities?
Ma'am?
I see there's kind of a big jump in your projected attendance. Is that because of the new
Well,
facilities?
one of the reasons, another one that this year, we're going to be hosting the Wall That Heals, which is a 3/4 scale of the Vietnam Wall in Washington. It'll be on our property for 4 days, and we're bringing that. We're paying to have it on our property. And that will be part of the advertisement that we're putting out. That'll come in October, and one of the series that we're doing, it will be the fall issue of the South Carolina Living, so that we get coverage for that event. Plus, we've got other advertising we're doing that we're not asking for that. So.
Do I have any recommendations from the board?
So this note right here that's beside them, as long as we receive,
Yeah,
What does that mean?
they're going to be subject to an audit based upon their revenue number. A
Okay.
lot of the entities that we're going through here don't have the type of revenue that this location brings in. And if you see on their back page of their application, page 2, their current budget is listed at $5.7 million for this year. So
Yeah.
they were going to
Most
fall.
of that is funding for building.
So that's just from
That's-
money that had come in.
We're raising the
Yeah.
funds, and
So, yeah, and I think
well,
that,
I know.
and this year, we expect to receive close to that $5 million so that we can start the construction on our building.
I know the Heritage Center does a wonderful job, and they attract a lot of people. So I make a motion that we fund their ask.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a representative of the sculpture in the south?
Yes, I'll do it.
Hi.
Good evening. My name is Darlene Waring, and thank you for volunteering your time on the committee. You know, Sculpture in the South has 44 bronze sculptures. The first set of sculptures are sort of passive. People go to it like they would go to a museum that they want to go there. The birds, however, is a year-round activity because of the brochure. The brochure has clue poems to find each bird. And people consider this an activity. Audubon Society of Iowa Forest helped us get that bird problem solved. Oh, and by the way, I went to the firefly thing, and they also have glowworms. I didn't know they existed. So we have a very popular event that keeps people in Somerville. I volunteer at the museum as a docent. We promote it there, and people will say, "Oh, and we need to come back. There's all this stuff to do, in Somerville." So I would say to you that people stay longer. Also, the Welcome Center brochures. I went down to Hardyville. I did 2,000 brochures. I mailed out to the Welcome Centers 1,200 additional in the last 18 months, total. So we're about to be out of them. Welcome Center in Somerville went through 500, and they need more. The point is that everybody that picks up that brochure at the Welcome Center is from out of state. Well, I can't say every person, sorry. But, most people stopping at the Welcome Centers are not from South Carolina. And we don't have any way of, we get donations. We did just install another sculpture in Somerville called Just Chillin' at the Saul Alexander Playground by Miracle League. So we do accomplish a good bit. But we are asking for funds to help us with printing these very popular brochures that people get quite excited about.
So it looks like you're going to provide the rat cards that you mentioned. It says visitor's guide. That's a different piece of collateral that you can give out, or that's going to be part of the visitor's guide?
We don't call it a visitor's guide, do we?
Okay.
Maybe he pointed.
I think there's probably only so many selections you can choose from on the application, so
Oh, I
they
see.
make you
Okay.
pick one.
So we have the two brochures. We have one for our regular sculptures, and then we have the birds brochure. The birds is a bright yellow, and it's much more popular. It really goes like crazy. And as I said, it's an activity that people like to do with their children. The visitor center, some of the visitor center was just telling me that a lady came in, she's doing an art camp, and she's going to use 40 brochures, for her art students at the art camp. So this is an actual activity that people indulge in. We have 23 birds, 20 are bronze. One is a glass sculpture because hanging in the window because he wouldn't perch anywhere. That's a Carolina parakeet who went extinct 1900. And then we have one that's a mural and one that is the chimney swifts, which are a different kind of metal. But, bronze is ideal for outdoor display because it will last for hundreds of years.
On the application you filled out on the opening page, it only lists $1,000 as the request. So I think probably you had a different amount in mind for the total. I noticed here that $21.94 is the advertising total that you were asking for on there.
That's correct. That is what it costs. Once the Welcome Center called me, we're going to have to send in an order like right away. Yeah, because we got the 5,000 maybe a year ago, not more than 18 months ago, and they're all gone.
Any questions from the committee? Do we have any recommendations?
I recommend we fund the $1,000 as requested, as stated on the application.
Have any seconds?
I second.
I just wanted to say that our executive director was very conservative in the funds for which he asked, because we did not receive any funds last year.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Do we have a representative of the St. George Rosenwald School? Okay. So they had an application for $11,000. Their application included every form of advertisement available to click on. Rosenwald School just opened up last year. They did appear before us last year. Do you have a total of what we granted them last year? They didn't get anything last year? Okay. That might be one that we table for a little bit, if everybody's in favor of that. Are we okay? Okay. All right, I've got the Somerville Dorchester Museum. The most patient person in the room.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Johnson. I am the secretary for the Somerville Museum and Research Center. I am here in Jerry Burns' stead. I was just told about this last night. He's having some medical issues, so you probably have more answers in front of you than I do. But I believe that I am here requesting funds for our rack cards that we are now distributing in all of the welcome centers throughout South Carolina. I don't know what Jerry put on the application. I could not get it from him last night, so. But I do know that the welcome centers, since we have been in them around March, we go to all of the brochure swaps. We have been to Hardyville. We've actually spoken at Landrum and Santee, and we have brand new rack cards, and I can show these to you if you would like. This is what we are printing for the welcome centers. They request that we bring them 3,600 rack cards to each brochure swap, and that's every couple of months. And it costs us a little over $1,000 to print those 3,600. So it's quite a big number if we continue to put those out, and we are getting more and more visitors and traffic from the welcome centers. So it is working for us, and we are very excited to be a part of the welcome centers now, because it's taking us quite some time to get involved with them, so.
So it said projected this year, you're expecting 1,879 visitors, with 462 of those coming from outside of the county.
That sounds about right, yes.
Okay. Do we have, do we have a dollar amount that we offered last year? 7,000, okay. Sometimes the breakdown, we have to take a look at, so if you're asking $17,000 and you got 400 people coming from outside of the county, so we're spending $30 per person to get them to come in. So sometimes it's a tough pill to swallow based upon the number of
Absolutely.
on there. I don't know if anyone has any recommendations. Last year, we funded 7,000 towards the rack cards.
I'd like to recommend 10.
10? Okay. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Wonderful, thank you so much.
All right. I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable if you've already gotten your things taken care of. Don't feel like you got to stay because of me. All right, so we're going to go back on a couple here. I think we should probably, I would like to kind of revisit the Somerville Orchestra and kind of look at that as kind of our the one that we've got to make the biggest decision on. Yes.
Are we reviewing Tri-County Chamber this evening?
We are not, at the beginning of the presentation, those requested funds are actually going to go into what's called a 30% recommendation from the county council. So it's going to be put into a separate recommendation because it falls under similar kind of government entities that don't really need to be in this kind of.
It's complicated.
Yes. So we're not going to have that fall underneath this umbrella.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Do you have an update of our total handout so far? Okay.
I did before I played with my numbers, so hold on a second. We need to revisit 2, right?
Correct.
3.
3, okay. What are they again?
Somerville Orchestra, the Flowertown Players, and the Rosenwald School.
Okay, gotcha. So we are at $91,032.
That's what we've distributed so far?
Yep.
Okay.
Is that including what was carried over from last year?
Flower
This is just
Town
tonight, just
Orchestra,
these
and who
applicants.
else?
Tonight, we've awarded 91,000,
Rosenwald
voted on
School.
91,000 to be
Rosenwald,
awarded,
okay.
just tonight.
Okay.
All right, so, do we have any additional questions? Do we have any additional recommendations?
11,
It would have been helpful to have a representative from the players.
Absolutely, I completely agree.
I'm a little surprised.
They did not attend last year's presentation either.
didn't.
So,
What were they awarded last year?
believe it was
Rosenwald?
$4,000.
Oh,
There's a lot of rehearsing going on over there.
4,000. I mean, you could keep their funding flat.
All right, and what did they do? What did they do that they're asking for?
And that was all
brings people
direct
in.
mail items on theirs. They've got an invoice from Allegra Printing on there with postage. So it comes out to be almost right around that $8,500.
And they do plays and stuff?
They do. It's
Okay.
a little, it would be considered to be a step above kind of community theater where you've got a mixture of professional performers and locals that they do, I think they do 5 to 6 different performances. The venue's also used for other events in addition. I think they seat around 300 to 400 people, if I had to guess, 300 people?
Yeah,
So last year they brought in
339.
339 from outside of the county.
Yeah.
Which is about $40 a person.
Yeah, if you broke it down to what they're asking for, right? You're,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if everybody would be comfortable with matching what we gave last year
We did 4.
for. Unless we've got
Well,
any other.
we got a little more. that
We
I
do have
think
more
we
to
could
play with,
probably-
though.
I would recommend 5.
Okay,
I feel good about 5.
okay. Do we have a second?
I second.
that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. All right, so we've got. our
So how
last
much
two
do we
here.
have left?
We have approximately $62,000, I think, or in that neighborhood to work with.
So why don't we talk about the orchestra?
Yeah, I think that would be probably our best decision right now.
And we can still ask questions for orchestra?
We can still ask questions. Do you mind coming back up to be grilled again?
So what's the percentage of 1,800 into 45,000? How much a person is that?
Well, if I could interrupt with that question, it's actually the 1,800 into $5,000, which is what we received last year. So it's 36 cents and some change or
Yeah.
something like that.
But I was saying for the ask for $45,000.
Obviously, for the projected year, that 2150 was still based off of a $5,000 ask. So there's not really you could calculate it up, but
Do you have any numbers on how effective the billboards are? Like the people you've spoken to?
sure. So all of the billboards that we run, we do get a report of them. We don't necessarily, the only way that we can tell from our end if a billboard was successful was when a patron goes in and selects, how have you heard about the orchestra? And they click, I saw it on a billboard. We get raw data from the billboard centers themselves that show the number of views that was seen during our time, because most of the time those are for digital billboards, and so they have the camera on there that takes the picture of the cars when that's going. But from our data, we only have the number of people who clicked that said, I've seen a billboard. But I'll give you a great example. I've seen the billboards dozens of times, and that's not necessarily the reason why I'm clicking on that. So I wouldn't call it accurate, but we do receive a little data in that regards.
And you have, where are your billboards now?
So the billboard that we put last year was actually off of Bees Ferry Road. So we've done them off of Berlin G. Myers. We've done them on Bees Ferry. We've done them up over on the other side of Main Street off of 26 towards the Berkeley side as well. We've had them in a few places, and we've seen some success, but I do think that it would stand out in an area that doesn't have an orchestra, which Beaufort out of the three is the only one that does have an orchestra, and they're relatively similar size to us as well.
And so the billboards in these areas would be kind of similar roads as like Bees Ferry and things like that?
Yeah, it would be ideally with the most traffic,
Yeah.
possible.
I'm make a recommendation. I'd be comfortable going up to $20,000. I don't know what the rest of the board feels on that. We do have a larger amount of funding available. I do feel like there's a strong effort on your part to disseminate the information out. It's just whether or not you're capturing it is the question, right?
Sure.
So,
I will say, because I know that seems like a really big jump from y'all's end. 2 years ago, we actually implemented these, the maps that I'm showing you, as well as really concrete data for the town of Somerville. We were receiving about 40,000 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. This year and last year, we received $82,500. And with that, we are exponentially growing very quick because of those numbers. So I understand your hesitations, absolutely. But obviously, the more money we have, the more we promote and the bigger that we can become, and therefore distribute the wealth throughout.
do I have any?
A second?
Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Right. All right, so the only item we need to discuss then is the Rosenwald School. I took an opportunity to go on their website today. They've got a beautiful building. I don't know what type of data they provided in here for the, where people are coming from out of the area here. They said they attracted 3,800 attendees last year and expect 7,600 this year. I know that they only opened up halfway through
Yeah.
the year last year, so.
So I know a little bit about the Rosenwald School
Okay.
since I'm here in town, but yeah, they just opened up halfway through the year last year. So it's an event space. They are bringing in programs and teachers and hosting different community, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say, but then also they brought in the Children's Museum there too.
Is that part of the same
Which is-
building?
Yes.
Okay, I
So
couldn't get a good grasp on
The Children's
that.
Museum
Okay.
occupies half of the space, and then the Rosenwald School in the other half of the space, well, they have, can have meetings and different events in there, and it's,
From what I could tell from the product that they have to offer, I thought it looked great.
It's
Like, it's a
a-
brand-new building, it looks fantastic, so.
it's a huge draw for this end of
Okay.
the county. And they're booking schools to come in, different tours and everything, so, highly recommend that we fund their full ask.
Could we
Well-
ask for information from them ask them to track who they're bringing in from out of the area?
Yes, and
As
they
a
have sent,
stipulation.
actually, I just heard a presentation from, they have a, I don't think her position is director, but somebody's in charge of, bringing in all the different events and everything now, so they'll have somebody actually track that instead of just the board that's been there before.
I see.
Even though they didn't do a presentation this year, or I don't think last year, Ralph James did a presentation, I know, the year before that, and pretty detailed, and they've really done a lot, especially with that Children's Museum, and they're bringing a lot of people in. I guess one of the concerns that I have is that they have received a lot of state funding support. They've been very successful there. I guess that's to their credit also. But I'm certainly not opposed to their getting full
Yeah.
funding because it's,
I think most of their funding that they've received, that was for the actual renovation and the
Yes,
buildings
you're
and
right.
stuff. So they're, now they're open, now they can advertise to have things and people come in.
right. And they did a quite remarkable job in rebuilding that school, so I recommend full funding.
All right, so that's two recommendations. We just need to get someone let us know if they have a second on there.
I'll second the Rosenwald recommendation.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any additional information from the county at all? Do we have any outstanding items that we need to cover?
What question I have is, what do we have left over?
A little bit. We have a little bit left over. That can
Does that
carry over to
carry
next year.
forward
Yeah.
to next year?
You have to spend it within 2 years. So I'm glad that we're being proactive about allocating these funds. So we had 54,617 that carried over from last year. We allocated a portion of that this year. 14,000 of that was allocated tonight. So we have about $40,000 and some change that will roll over again next year that we have to allocate in addition to our revenues next year,
All right.
if that makes sense.
there
Sometimes I
any
talk out
chance
loud and it
that-
doesn't make sense to anybody but me, so I'm sorry.
Is there any chance when the council reviews this that they would choose to?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Bump up.
They'll have full ability to make comments, make recommendations, make changes.
Okay.
Generally, what I'll do is I'll present this information to them within about a month, either here or in, when they do their presentations in Somerville. I'll go up in front of the council, they'll ask questions. They ask tough questions. You know, they want to make sure that this is going towards things that are going to benefit the county. So they certainly will ask all those questions, and they will make some recommendations to go through one way or the other. And we'll give them an outline of what we did, who we provided the money towards, and those funds also that we can go through. Do we have any other comments or items to go through?
I have one more thing, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So going back to the audit, Mr. Blakely, is that
Okay.
who? He's not here. But, so according to our application, if you read our application, the requirements for, you know, granting the ATAX funding, the requirements are to submit your 990 form, your IRS exemption, tax exemption letter, and if your revenues exceed $1 million in any given year, you're required to submit an external audit. Now, we could recommend or suggest to council that either that be waived, or we can start adhering to our own policy. So maybe going forward, you know, we can have him, I know you brought it up, and thank you for bringing
Well,
that
I
up.
just want to make sure that, I don't want to be in a situation where we are allocating funds when, you know, I know that he's received quite a lot of money towards the building, which doesn't really go towards what we're doing, but just want to make sure that if they're getting more than their share, then we have other opportunities to do things with the money.
Yeah.
I would like to follow however the rules are stated. I'm not sure what an internal audit costs. So that might be something that we could bring up towards them, and we can, obviously, if you need to withhold a check based upon
Yeah,
them providing
yeah,
additional
yeah.
information, you certainly have my blessing on that.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Yes. Any other things? Thank you, everybody. Hopefully, this wasn't too painful. I appreciate your patience, and we also appreciate all the wonderful things that you provide to our community. You're all doing really great things and enriching everybody in this community's lives. I will call this meeting adjourned.